2xKO Alpha Test came to an end. It had an amazing reception among the players, and now everyone is wondering who will be in the starting roster of the game. Hi, I'm SoyGyoza, and I'm a Runeterra IP fan since the early Season 2 of League of Legends. Following the Riot for more than 10 years helped me understand not only what they are doing with the IP, but also why they are doing it, and I will use this knowledge to predict what champion we can expect at the release of the game and what's the logic behind it. Let's begin with the number of characters. In all its competitive games, Riot has the habit to start with a small roster since they are adding new characters regularly. League started with 16 characters, Valorant with 10, 11 if we count Reyna that came really early, and, in the alpha, 2xKO had 6 champions. So I don't think there will be an exception to this rule, and I'm assuming a roster between 12 and 15 characters. Now, even with only 6 characters in the alpha, we have a lot of informations that can give away what other champions we can expect in the initial roster. For example, there are already 2 Ionian champions in the alpha, and Riot already confirmed that Jinx will be in the initial roster, giving us another pair from Zaun. Riot also postponed Katarina since their kit didn't really reflect her identity, which, if it was not the case, could have given us 2 Noxus champions. This is surely not a coincidence, and we can expect a rule of pair regarding the different regions. Runeterra has a lot of different regions, and some of them are less likely to be present, at least at the beginning of the game. For example, both Shurima and Ixtal have a lot of non-humanoid champions that could give some unfair hitboxes. Same goes for Banner City and Yordles in general. Lastly, I will not consider Piltover as a different region from Zone, because even Riots tend to unify the two like they did in lore, and they will likely do the same for the initial roster. In the alpha, we already have champions from Zone, Ionia, Noxus, Freljord and Bilgewater, and if we count the rule of pair from earlier, we can expect 2 fighters from each, making the initial roster at least 10 characters. However, there are 2 other big and iconic regions, being Demacia and Shadow Isles, which I expect at least one to be present, upping the roster to 12 or 14. There are also iconic champions not tied to a specific region, referred as Runeterran in Legend of Runeterra, which for that could use the rule of pair and be present as a single representative, but I expect this to be an option only if both Demacia and Shadow Isles are present, making my ultimate number 12 or 15. Now that we have a solid number, which champions could fill the gap? There are a lot of characters that could easily be implemented in a fighting game, but in Alpha we've already seen that even non-conventional fighters like Ahri can be present, opening the door to unconventional picks. For sure, characters will be chosen with a clear intent behind them, most likely to feel unique in order to not feel a copy of another characters, making the already small roster feel even smaller. Here we need to pause for a second and think, what could be the intent of Riot with the roster? Will it focus on uniqueness of the champion or of the region? You see, back in the early years of League, there were strong regional recurring features that many champions of that region possessed. For example, Freljord was and still is the most CC-oriented region. Ionia was always the mobile region, and Noxus was the bleed deity region between Darius, Talion, and even Katarina's Q and Draven's passive back in the days. Considering that, in 2xKO both Ionian champions are extremely mobile, Darius is the only character with a bleed ability, and Braum has a freeze, it seems that the regional quirks are already present in the game, so what will Riot focus on? Since both kind of uniqueness are equally possible, from now on I will structure 2 different rosters around both of them. Let's start from the one champion missing from each region already included within the alpha. For Noxus, if we go purely on champion uniqueness, Vladimir and Swain comes to mind. They are both casters that could be played as a medium-range semi-bulky champion with a similar playstyle to JP from Street Fighter, and are the complete opposite from Darius, and is in the variety. There is also the possibility of Riven as a highly mobile champion focused on dash cancel, similar to Echo, and juggling, considering her league ability focuses on slamming the opponent. If you go for regional uniqueness, we need to take into account that Darius already showed us a bleed ability. So, if we go by that most fitting names are Talon and Draven. Even if Talon is a bleed champ while maintaining a strong difference in playstyle from Darius, I am very oriented on Draven to be the one in this scenario. Not only it's completely different from Darius, bleed aside, but he could also have a unique playstyle based on throw and catch, similar to League, making him really different from all the roster. Also, being Darius' brother, they could have unique interactions or making thematic squad a thing, which is always very welcome in the community. For Bilgewater, Illaoi hasn't really showed us any regional unique feature, leaving us only with champion uniqueness as a guess for the second character. Being an heavy hitter, the focus shifts to smaller and faster champions, which leads us to very popular and highly likely candidates, Pike, Gangplank and Misfortune. Pike will fit really well in a fighting game as a fast ambusher character with water clones and with his harpoon to close the gap and apply pressure. Gangplank will give us an interesting mix of melee and ranged attacks with his pistol, and Misfortune will most likely have a gunfu style of combat similar to what they did show us with Jinx in the Riot Arcane epilogue video. From all of this, I think the best guess is Gangplank, considering he also had a relationship with Illaoi and offered the most variety, since we already have both a gunfu and a clone fighter. For Freljord, Braum has a Fritz CC, giving away what is most likely his regional uniqueness, so if we go by it, champions like Lissandra or Nunu could be a good fit. For character uniqueness, it's difficult to choose between Tryndamere, Olaf and Udyr. Both Tryndamere and Olaf could be played as an aggressive mid-range fighter with rage meter that boosts their abilities, while Udyr could be a fast combo character with stances that can modify his combos and effects. They are all fine and interesting options, but I would personally choose Udyr for being the most unique not only in the region but in the entire roster. For Demacia there are really interesting options. Fiora, for example, could be a really powerful fast counter-oriented fighter, Sylas could be a mobile distance grappler that seals abilities for a short time, and Lux could be a ranged control character. I would personally choose Lux and Sylas, cause they both offer a really unique style, they are both really popular in the franchise and they interact a lot in the lore, making a thematic duo. For Shadow Isles, the choice is very obvious, considering the two main frontmen of the region, Viego and Thresh. Viego was highlighted as the Rune King since the item got introduced 10 years ago, and is a very popular pick. Furthermore, his playstyle could be very easily implemented in a fighting game. His W seems made as an ultimate starter. Thresh is probably the most popular champion of the region, universally loved and very skill expressive, feature that can be translated in the game as a mid-ranged grappler with good mobility centered around his hook and hunter. If a Runeterra champion is taken in consideration, it will probably be centered around his popularity within the community, his unique way of playing, how much could be fitting as a champion without region or entertaining as a fighter. Riot Sur comes to mind as a character that shines in all of these categories, but so does Rengar and Jax. Of these, Riot will surely be the most interesting, but could be a bit too challenging to implement his abilities in the game in a way that is not obnoxious or unbalanced, mainly his Rune Prison. Jax could surely be a great candidate, but I don't think his playstyle offers much uniqueness to be in the starting roster. Rengar, however, seems born to be in a fighting game. His playstyle centered around choices and upgraded abilities seems really made to highlight the skill of the player, and a good Rengar would surely be entertaining to watch. So, these are my roster predictions, taking into account both Riot decision making over the years and the two possible focuses they had in mind while making it. All the champions mentioned in the video that I didn't choose for the initial roster are not excluded as a whole from the game. I think they will all be a perfect addition to 2xKO, however I find simply less likely their presence from the beginning. There are surely more fitting champions for a fighting game like Sett, Lee Sin and Zed. However, I find it unlikely that the initial roster will be monopolized by a single region and not be balanced around most of them, especially considering that all the regions have a fair amount of support from the community. Tell me in the comments if you agree with my predictions or if you will change someone in the picks. This is SoyGyoza and we will see each other in the next video. Take care on the Rift!